You've probably heard nothing about this on your local news outlet. It's been 3 weeks. Everyone has been trapped in the cities they were in. All major highways have been blocked, deliveries of everything halted, cities are out of fuel and gas, and there's food shortages. There was no end in sight, but now we have a temporary resolution. So, let's get into what happened, how it happened, and can it happen again. So, getting into what happened, and I'm going to explain this in a way that everyone can understand, even you, Chad. So, like the indigenous people, like the people that have been here for like a really long time of Ecuador are like pissed because like all the prices are going up for food and fuel, but they aren't making more money and they like make a big portion of the food. So it's like stuff is more expensive and they make a lot of that stuff, but they don't have more money. It's like, whoa, bruh. So they're protesting like, dude, WTF. And they got this dope group named Kane that fights for their rights to like party. But then the cops like arrested the leader of Kane, Leonidas Iza, and the people were like, whoa, dude, we're like totally gonna protest harder now, just to let you know. And they did. They went hard for 3 weeks. They blocked all the major highways, so everyone and everything was trapped. No one could leave the cities they were in for 3 weeks, and there were no grocery or fuel deliveries to stores. People with flights out of the country were having to take helicopter rides to get to the airport. Schools in most major cities shut down during the protests and went back to online virtual classes. Now, on the second day of the protests, it turned violent. 40 injuries, 12 critically wounded, and then over the days of the protests, there were many more injuries, 6 deaths reported as a result of the police and military using excessive force. After 18 days of the country being shut down, most businesses and schools closed, with people left with no way to earn money. The effects of the protests on the entire population of the country could no longer be disregarded by President Lasso. So he finally sat down to negotiate with Kane on their demands. Here's a list of all the demands. I won't read them all out loud, but they'll be scrolling below for you to read. Now, most of them sound reasonable in theory, and I hope they get all 10 demands. Only time will tell. The president has agreed to solely enact the change that they demand, and Kane has given the government 90 days to comply, or else they're going to protest and shut down the country all over again indefinitely. Now, let's get into the how. How did this happen? Well, the indigenous communities of Ecuador, similar to those in other countries you might be familiar with, feel like they have been systematically left out of the political landscape and decision-making processes of the country. Because of this, one of the biggest rights activist groups of indigenous people in Ecuador was formed, named Kane. They have stepped in every time they feel like their community is being exploited and or neglected, and they have a successful track record of bringing politicians to the negotiating table. In their years, they have ousted multiple presidents successfully and seem intent on doing it again. In the recent months, the indigenous communities feel like they're being exploited with the inflation in prices for fuel and food. A high percentage of farming is done by these communities, but they aren't making any of the benefits of the higher prices. On the flip side, they're being lowballed for the goods they produce that are then being sold at inflated rates in the market. They're demanding fair prices for farm products, agricultural subsidies, and an end to laws that inhibit their abilities to produce. They're also demanding a higher minimum wage and easier access to college for their communities. Now, as you can see from their list of demands, most of them sound reasonable. Some of them I see as a stretch, such as the demand to stop the expansion of mining and protection of certain territories. As much as I want for that to be the case, we all know through the history of other countries how that's worked out. Another one that I fully agree with, but I don't see happening, is the demand to stop the privatization of strategic sectors, such as banks, hydroelectric plants, CNT, highways, and the public health insurance system. I think it's wrong when any public benefit sector gets thrown into the hands of a profit-driven corporation. And now, this gets us to where we are now. The president has sat down with Kane and agreed to a version of their demands. Kane has now given the government 90 days to comply with the demands, or they're going to start another indefinite national protest, shutting down the entire country once again. It's estimated this past national strike damaged the economy in excess of $500 million. So let's hope we don't have to go through that again. So to sum it all up, how it happened, the indigenous population felt they were being exploited. They also feel unrepresented and systematically left out of power positions. They showed their political persuasion of power through the form of protest and sent a strong message that they aren't going to be messed with. And now here we are with a 90-day ultimatum to enact their changes, or the whole country will suffer once again. Now, let's get into, can this happen again? Well, if you just listen to everything I just said, yes. Yes, it can. And it will in 90 days if things don't change. Now, just like most people, I want them to get their demands because none of us want to go through all of that again. For 3 weeks, most businesses were shut down with workers left with no way to earn money. I personally know 3 people that lost their homes this month as a direct result of not being able to earn a living during the national strikes. Now, if these protests were more targeted towards the political structure, it would make more sense to me. But the protests have affected too many innocent families that have no part in either side of this battle. It's been a few weeks since the shutdown, and now businesses still haven't fully recovered. Many employees have been laid off, which seems counterproductive to the protests, which are fighting for more jobs and job security. They wanted more work opportunity, but have caused too many to be unemployed. Prices of goods that were inflated during the protests still haven't came back down to their original values from before the strike, and there's still a shortage of gas. So, here we are now. Can this happen again? Yes. Will this happen again? Yes, most likely. Does it benefit more people than it hurts? I don't believe so. How can we prepare? What I did was I got a single burner electric stove for when there's gas shortages, stock up on dry food, stock up on fruits and vegetables and freeze them, and get a water filter. Let's hope it doesn't happen again, but if it does, I'll be here with you, keeping you updated on the situation. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification, and share this video to anybody that you know lives in Ecuador. I'll see you on the next video.